All right. So this will be interesting, no matter what. Just so that everybody knows, my name is Matthew Malumbi, and this is Abby Fish, and we are part of the UNI IT cohort 2014, and we're going to be asking you just a few questions about change and how change is affecting your district. So, without further ado, I have a question for you. Did you have a new vision or focus, or see a need for change because of like dissatisfaction?
I don't necessarily think it was because of dissatisfaction. Part of our vision really kind of focuses on relationships, challenging academics, and 21st century skills. And having this opportunity through the TLC grant to kind of advance teachers into more leadership positions was something West Delaware jumped on pretty naturally. We tried for it the first year, didn't get it, and so the second year, we really kind of focused our efforts into writing that grant and did get that position. So we a very new system with new instructional coaches, and that's what Scott and I are in the district. We also went one-to-one this year, which was part of that vision of 21st century skills. So I don't know if it was because of dissatisfaction we drove that way, but just trying to focus on that vision.
Okay.
So do we both need to answer each question, or if I feel she adequately handled it, we're good?
If you have any input, go ahead and you can expand upon her answer. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. You guys can just flip a coin and figure out who wants to take the lead.
Yeah.
We're in the same room, so I can just give her the thumbs up.
Sounds good.
I would agree with everything she said. Nothing to add.
Okay.
Matt, if you want to ask the questions, I'm just writing in our doc.
Yeah, I see that.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, that sounds good. So this kind of has we did the question one with the A, B, C, D type of thing. So we kind of have some things underneath that kind of go with that.
Okay.
So I guess the next one kind of goes with the first one. You said there was no dissatisfaction, but what were you hoping teaching and learning looked like or would look like in your school after that change or during that change? Was the change that was happening, was that communicated well to you?
I guess I was hoping for increased engagement among our students. It would be a major impact of the teacher leadership compensation plan, along with the one-to-one. Certainly more use of technology by students, more interaction among students. What was the second part of the question again? Sorry.
How was that vision, I guess, of change communicated to you, either by administration or just however it might be?
Go for it, Megan. How was it communicated?
Through the TLC grant, we had a lot of rollout with that part of the change. With one-to-one, we knew that was a movement that was happening in our district. It was not necessarily reasons behind it were, again, related back to that vision, but not necessarily this is our particular learning outcomes that we're hoping that students gather as a result of going one-to-one. Even though that 21st century skills is a large part of our vision, it's not necessarily something that they said, because we have Chromebooks, we expect to see X, Y, and Z. So I think Scott did a nice job. I think that relevancy for students, preparing them for jobs that they're going to actually, have when they reach, post-secondary education or post-secondary education, and making learning fun and relevant to them.
And one thing we didn't mention is that we have a new high school principal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He definitely emphasizes the relevance part, and he's a little bit stronger leader, a little bit more vocal than our past principal, and so I think that's been a good thing for us. He's driving the focus, he's making the way a little bit in a stronger way than our other principal did, I think.
Okay, so leadership position, just that one kind of made a pretty distinct difference?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I think a lot of people liked our previous principal, but I just, in my opinion, the new person is a little bit more vocal about the vision and a little bit stronger leader for us to follow.
Okay. Leadership was one of our things that we were talking about, so it's something good to put in there. So thank you. Did you see the need for change based on other districts? Like, did you take a look at other districts that are going one-to-one around you and be like, yeah, we need to do this, or was it more like
I think it's just
kind of internally based?
Understanding the relevancy for students and the need for integrating technology and for them to have those skills, I think was the primary focus. Obviously, in the state, we're pretty late in the implementation of one-to-one. So we did look at other districts in the terms of the technology that they were currently using, some of the ways in which they were using it, and kind of for the preparation part of it. Referenced other districts, but I think it was more student need driven than it was peer pressure from other districts necessarily.
Okay. All right.
I would say, me personally, I didn't realize the need until after we actually made the change. Once we made the change and I saw all the possibilities that the new technology afforded us, I realized that we really should have made the change a long time ago.
Okay. So what is one characteristic that sets you apart from other schools?
Well, we feel that at West Delaware we have, I guess the motto at the high school in the past few years has really been to really try to empower students and fail forward. So we always want to be in a position where we're going to try new things and we're going to try to do what's best for students, even if we're not, even if it's not 100%, what do I say, proof, just to make sure that we are innovating. And I think with the TLC grant, with some of the other initiatives that we've tried in the past few years, we really want to make sure that we're doing what's best for kids and kind of putting ourselves out there. So I think that there's a real strong culture at West Delaware for trying to strive for excellence and in all areas, specifically those relationships with students, and trying to come up with a real well-rounded student. So I think that kind of sets us apart.
I'm not sure if this is exactly what you're looking for, but I know when we interview candidates for positions, one of the things that we stress is that we feel our kids are successful and have an opportunity to be very successful, not just academically, but in the fine arts, extracurricular activities ranging from our autos to welding to our music. We're one of the top 4 teams in volleyball and football right now. We just feel like we have a experience for kids that goes well beyond just the academic things that we have to offer. I think we have around 90% of our kids involved in at least one extracurricular activity.
Okay.
Trying to make that connection to school so we have everything connected, which in turn hopefully pays off in the classroom.
Kind of the 21st century thing, that's what you were stressing before. I kind of see that as a well-rounded individual. All right. For this next one, what grade levels was this change implemented for specifically? Is this, I'm talking like high school, middle school, or is this district-wide?
Are you suggesting one-to-one as the main change?
Well, yeah, of many things, but one-to-one, it could be for the TLC grant too. Is that also district-wide?
TLC was district-wide. We have model teachers and team leaders and 4 instructional coaches that serve the district. Scott and I are 7-12. We have 2 instructional coaches that are pre-K-6. The one-to-one initiative specifically was 7-12 as far as having students take Chromebooks home and have them full-time. Our 5th and 6th graders are using Chromebooks, but they stay in the classroom. And right now our elementary is not. They have carts and things that they're using, but they're not necessarily one-to-one at this point.
Okay.
Nothing to add on that one for me.
Okay. How did you go about making that change for focus into the leadership team? Maybe do you have a leadership team or administration? Was it all focused for like the TLC selection program, or who made the initial decisions for that type of change, either for the TLC or the one-to-one?
There was a TLC committee
Okay.
that got together, and that was made up of, I think, 3 or 4 teachers from every building, as well as the administrative team. We do have building leadership teams in every building, and that has driven some of the professional development that's gone one-to-one, but as far as making the initial change to one-to-one, that was top-down. So that was our administrative team that kind of made that call and how it was going to be rolled out. But the building leadership teams really come in with some of what we feel we need to do as far as professional development is concerned. We really incorporate the use of that technology more than it's, we're going to type in a Word document. We want to make sure that we're using that technology to its full capacity. And that's where Scott and I, as instructional coaches, come in and work with teachers one-to-one and help guide those teams.
I guess I have a question for Megan. Do you know if we had parents or community members involved in any of these decision-making?
There were, for the one-on-one rollout, there were parent meetings in every building, multiple parent meetings in every building to kind of explain the process and take questions. TLC grant specifically, there was community input, but it was mostly driven by the teachers and administrators involved in writing the grant. But the community was, as well as the school board, was part of that process. And stakeholders.
So your administration alone decided that you guys were going to go with Chromebooks. There was no other input from anyone else?
I believe it was what was cost effective. And there might have been some teachers that went, I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think there might have been some teachers that went to other schools to kind of see from the technology. But I think for the most part, that was our technology coordinators that kind of made that call, and as well as the administrative team.
When you said something about being cost effective, was that a big underlying factor for Chromebooks?
I think for any district right now, the cost is
cost effective.
Yeah, but it was also the need and what programs we could use with students. We liked that they were Google driven. It's made it very easy to use. We use Hapara as our learning system, which for teachers has been a great tool. A lot of teachers are using Google Classroom as well, so it really keeps students organized. From being my former position as an at-risk coordinator, it's been great to see the students kind of utilizing some of those organizational techniques with the technology. So that's helped a lot of our kids.
Okay. How do you build leadership in your school? And the second part to that is, who are the leaders in specific areas of change within the district? You mentioned in the technology
coordinators. Yep.
Coordinators, yeah, that's right. And administration. But is there? You said you had leadership teams at every building level too?
We do. Yep.
Okay.
I think with the TLC grant, that's gone a long way in building leadership in our buildings. We have lots of different tiers. Our technology coordinators are district-wide. So there are 2 technology coordinators, and they report to the superintendent, and they have meetings with her every month. But then we've got our administrative teams, which are 3 building level principals and the AD at the high school, AD principal at the high school, our curriculum director, and our superintendent that meet every Monday. And then you've got the instructional coach team, which is 4 of us, and we report directly to our curriculum director, who's our direct supervisor. And then you've got tiers of leadership underneath that. We've got mentor teachers, we've got model teachers, and then the team leaders would be your building leadership teams. So lots of different layers of leadership, which has proven very collaborative this year, and a lot more transparent than it has in past years.
So Megan and I, all of us 4 instructional coaches serve on the building leadership team with the team leaders. Mm-hmm. One thing I think that's unique is the team leaders, direct supervisor is their principal in the building, while us 4 instructional coaches, our direct supervisor is our curriculum director or director of school improvement. So it makes it a little bit tricky because we're all on the building leadership team, but we have different supervisors.
Nice.
Tricky.
All right. Since we're talking about TLC and that change and then the one-to-one, how was that change presented to the staff?
There was the initial rollout, which was all positions. It was kind of, this is the grant, this is why we need it. a lot of the staff is very kind of well read on Fran's plan as it was being rolled out. As far as the actual positions, they kind of came in chunks. Us as instructional coaches, we did our own presentation in every building, and that was extremely instrumental, I think, in the success of our program. Overall, I think instructional coaching in the district has been very successful. And that was very calculated. We spent the first 2 weeks of school really deciding what our message was going to be. And then we took that in steps and presented that presentation in every single building. And in fact, tonight at 6 o'clock, we have a board presentation where we're going to kind of recap and let our school board know where we're at in the process and some of the work that we're doing. But yeah, so far it was done in chunks, and I think that was really beneficial as far as the transparency of the program.
I would also say we applied for the TLC grant a year before and did not get it. So we had a little bit of idea of what was coming because we knew that we just missed getting it the year before, so that we knew we had a very high probability of getting it this year. And so that gave us a little bit of time to kind of study and just get up to speed on what would happen when we did get the grant. I was also going to mention that I mentioned before that our curriculum director or director of school improvement is the direct supervisor of the 4 coaches. And I would say a lot of the success is due to her strength in protecting us, making sure that we have time and resources to do our job and that we're not being pulled away by the building principal to do other things.
Yeah, we're finding that out too with instructional coaches or people who are using instruction to teach ways to integrate, especially technology. They become the fix-it guys,
Right?
instead of the actual design for a classroom or something like that. So
that was one of the things we were very careful of as we did that. We call that drive-by coaching, when people just kind of ask us questions really quickly and kind of want quick answers. And we try to really frame our questions to be, okay, what are you using this for? What is your student goal? How are you going to facilitate continued use? And that changed the conversation from, hey, how do you do this program? What is Kahoot? What is, these fancy programs, to what is the student learning goal? Because it's one thing to use technology. It's another to use technology to impact student learning. It's not about the technology, it's about the learning behind the technology. So I think that making that distinction helped in that process.
I will say that we've said yes to doing some things that maybe at the beginning of our enrollment process to try to get our foot in the classroom. I mean, I've gone in and taught screencasting to several classes just to get my foot in the doorway, even though maybe I didn't have a real student-centered goal at the time. Just I wanted to somehow get that relationship with the teacher so that they would feel comfortable with me in the classroom. I think as time goes on, though, we'll probably stay away from those situations a little bit more.
Okay. What resources then were or are available to you as you implement this change?
As far as technology resources, or just any?
Yeah, I guess as far as technology resources.
Okay. So far, we've gotten to go to a blended learning conference. As far as instructional coaching, we just got back from a conference in Denver. So a lot of it's been professional development. We have not necessarily, I went to TIC last year. It's been a lot of professional learning as far as doing that as opposed to actual technology. We've used Pear Deck and have gotten some teachers grants to go and continue to use that. But as far as actual money to buy resources, that hasn't been the case so far.
Yeah, we also went to a Fierce Conversations course. Tomorrow I'm going to a math tech integration course at the AA for a few days. So we've, like she said, we've done a lot of training. We've been trained through the Jim Knight training. We've been trained through Diane Sweeney training. So we've spent a lot of time in training. I would say monetary resources depend on the building principal. Our high school principal seems to be very willing to spend money on technology and to help us make the change, whereas the middle school principal is probably a little more reserved about putting those dollars out there right now.
Depends on building budgets too.
Okay. It kind of answered my next question then. What was professional development time devoted to learning how to implement change? That sounds like more the majority of it kind of resides as professional development.
For the coaches, at least, yeah.
For the coaches, yeah, yes.
Yeah.
And then do you lead professional development for the teachers then, or is it like you kind of said before? Is it that drive-by
Building
question?
leadership teams. Yep.
We have led some professional development as part of the high school BLT team. We have not done that yet as part of the middle school BLT team.
Okay.
Their building level teams have.
Okay.
Should mention that Megan and I were both high school teachers prior to taking this position, so we're a little bit more comfortable at the high school than we are at the middle school at this point.
Sure. So this one was, you kind of answered this one as well, but just to recap, how are you going to make sure this change is implemented in the classroom? Like when you leave, how do you know that teacher is going to take and run with whatever you kind of help them design?
That's part of our coaching cycle, that sustained change. We have a 5-step coaching cycle, and the last is that sustained change. What are you going to do to take those next steps? I think the most important part in that is not do it for them and to show them how to do the process, but then when they're in front of the kids, providing them learning opportunities to facilitate that process, because if we do it for them, they're less likely to make that change continued. So really making sure that we are providing them tools, but not enabling them at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah, we're really focused on a relationship with teachers that lasts more than just 1 or 2 meetings. We're looking at coaching cycles of 4 to 6 weeks, sometimes longer. They're in and out of their classrooms for many weeks, helping plan, implement, co-teach, co-plan, and reflect and think about next steps after each lesson or each unit. So it's a long-term process to try to make sure that it's sustainable.
Absolutely. And so, like, what year are you in through the process of this change? Is this the first year then of both the TLC and one-to-one?
Yes.
Both. Nothing like doing it all in the same year.
Nothing like it.
Yeah.
How many years do you see this change taking place until it's successful? Or is that kind of a blurry number?
I think it depends on how you define successful.
Sure.
I think that for us, we've been very happy with the instructional coaching process. We've got a lot of good feedback from people. We just did a coaching lab where we had a bunch of instructional coaches from around AA1 come in and watch us coach. And so we're pretty committed to that sustained professional development to make that successful. We have a lot of teachers bought in at this point. The technology, I think you're going to see it in pockets before you see it implemented school-wide. We've got some teachers that are doing a really great job with technology already and have been for years. We've got some, like I know our science department has had laptops in the classroom for the last 3 or 4 years. So you have pockets of change, but it's going to take those people that are kind of high flyers and already kind of moving quickly to share that with staff and for team leaders and instructional coaches to kind of help sustain that with people that are not as comfortable. But if you're talking about district-wide implementation, it's going to take a little bit. But I don't know if I can quantify that necessarily.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see the one-to-one change ever going away. The device might change, but there's always going to be some type of one-to-one technology going on. I think as far as the TLC grant, I mean, that could go away if the money could go away. In fact, a teacher just asked me that today. What's going to happen if the grant's not there in 2 years? Mm-hmm. And I guess my answer is that I think when you help teachers implement something that really makes a difference in their classroom, and they see the difference, that's going to, whether the grant's there or not, those teachers, once they learn something that really works for them, if you can make it efficient for them and something that they really can see a result, that's going to be maintained, even if we're not there to continue to give them new ideas and support them.
Did you, and this isn't really a question, but I was just curious, because we just got our TLC grant too, and we're going to be applying for positions. Just curious on, was that the committee that also decided whether it'd be like a 1-year contract, a 2-year contract, for like whether or not you would have your job back at the end of it, or was that even talked about? Yeah,
we apply every year for our positions.
Yearly?
It's yearly. Yeah, it's a 1-year contract. We are guaranteed a position in the district. We're not guaranteed our job back. Right. So it's based on your endorsement areas, and that probably did. We're full-time out of the classroom. We're full-time coaches. So for some people, I think that probably deterred them from applying. For me, I've a limited, with social studies, so I could teach 5-12 social studies. But for somebody that was maybe a high school teacher, but they've got a K-12 endorsement, there's a little bit more risk there because they'll put you wherever there's an opening. So that was one thing that I think weighed into some people's decision whether or not to apply for this position. But I think that yearly application process, it protects us a little bit too, because if we don't like it, it provides us an out where if you didn't like this position and you signed a 3-year contract, there's a lot more risk in that. So we won't go through the full application process every year, but we will have to apply every year.
Okay.
I would agree with Megan. If I was to say there was one thing that I felt was a little bit maybe unfair about the process, it actually probably worked in my favor, was the fact that we were guaranteed a job in some area that we were qualified in. So I know several people that are qualified in special ed, but they're in the regular classroom. They didn't really want to take a chance of being put back in special ed, so they really didn't feel comfortable applying. And so to me, that I actually had an advantage by not being certified in other areas, math only. So
Sure. What is the most memorable experience of change from the last year?
Most memorable experience. I think it's just the fact that both Scott and I think I can speak for both of us here. Both of us were reluctant to leave the classroom. We both loved our classrooms. It was a difficult decision, but to go into an instructional coach position with very little knowledge of what you'd actually be doing. We really didn't know. We did training over the summer. We've done a million trainings since the school year started, but to finally, my biggest concern was, am I going to affect students? Is my position going to be worthwhile? Am I going to see and be able to affect change? And for me, that's been the most rewarding thing, is actually helping teachers and feeling and having them feel like they can do something and feel kind of affirmed. Because so often in education, we are isolated. That is your classroom. You don't get a lot of feedback. And by having, a partnership where someone can come in and kind of affirm what you're doing well, but also help you grow, has been the most memorable experience for me, probably.
I would say my most memorable experience would be the coaching lab that we just did last week. We had, about 35 professionals here watching us co-teach. And so Megan and I each had about 7 or 8 people observing us as we co-planned and co-taught with another teacher. And it really does feel like, I really feel like I'm almost like a first-year teacher again. There's so much new to learn. I've been a math teacher for 26 years now. I'm teaching things like 7th grade social studies and English and things that I'm really out of my comfort zone in. Not that I'm teaching the actual content, but really out of my comfort zone. So to have someone else to come in and watch you do something that you're pretty much brand new at was a little scary, but definitely memorable.
Okay. So that's kind of about the last year, but how will your school change, do you think, in the coming years? Or I guess I'm asking this in another way, what significant initiatives or events is the school looking forward to?
Ooh. Well, go ahead.
You're talking about new initiatives? Something new from them?
Yeah, maybe if it's not the TLC, or if it's the continuation of that, or if it's the continuation of one-to-one, or if there might be something else that's kind of coming down the pike. I
think based on this year, they're going to get some pushback if they try to introduce anything else. Yeah, one-to-one kind of continuing. TLC will definitely be continuing. One of the most exciting things about that, I think, is you're starting to see silos break down, where it used to be we've got the math department over here and the social studies department over here and science over here, and now with some of the instructional coaching and some of the modeling that's going to be happening, you're going to see a lot more people kind of going cross-curricular and implementing new things. For instance, I've implemented Socratic Seminar as a strategy in 3 different content areas, and now I've got teachers that are willing to talk to each other about instructional strategies that they wouldn't have normally done. So the breakdown of silos, I think, is going to be important change mechanism for us, and I'm really excited to see that as it kind of continues.
I would agree. I don't see anything new, but one thing I see is kind of what she was talking about. But even within departments, we have some teachers that don't communicate very well within departments, so I'm working to coordinate. For example, 3 teachers teaching a lower level statistics class right now, and I'm trying to help them coordinate and work together to work more efficiently and to be able to learn from each other. Another example would be I have an 8th grade teacher and a 9th grade teacher that are, well, an 8th grade teacher and a high school teacher both teaching algebra that normally don't communicate at all. So they're using technology and trying to get them to communicate and work together. I really see our school improving because of the leadership positions that our teachers are in. I think as teachers go on to become team leaders or instructional coaches, then go back to the classroom, that we're just going to really build a nice system of leaders within our district.
Okay. What is one characteristic that sets you apart from other schools is kind of what we had already said. I was just hoping to, more than just I guess for you individually, you said that you were focused mostly on the students. Is that kind of where you would like to see change most? Teachers.
I think it's hard to measure success unless it's based in student data. I can try to change a teacher, and that's really kind of been the focus of our coaching. Is I can try to change a teacher and a strategy, but who's to say that that's successful if we don't start to see student growth and improvement? Because ultimately, that's why we're here. We're here to help students be successful. So maintaining that student-driven type of mindset, I think also when you're trying to implement change, makes that a lot less confrontational with the teacher if it's grounded in student data. It's not saying, oh, you're not doing this correctly. It's saying, where are the students at and how do we want to get them to where we want them to be collectively? And then trying to implement strategies that are going to help that. But, by focusing on the teacher, sometimes that becomes personal, and something that both Scott and I try to avoid as much as possible. So, and that's been a successful type of perspective for us, is to, again, keep it grounded in data. We want to make sure it's research-based, and we want to make sure that we're supporting teachers in helping students.
Okay.
I would say that I'm going to take a little different spin on it. I do think teachers need to change, but I think that change is going to come from looking at common student data. And I think we really have to get to the point where teachers are comparing the data that they collect within their classrooms and really finding out who's doing things that are really making a difference in student achievement. So when I first think about it, I think if teachers change, well, students will change. Well, I think really maybe teacher change is going to come from student data. So we're going to focus on student data, and hopefully when we see results in student data, that teachers will make the changes they need to make.
Okay. We're just a little over halfway, so thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for sticking with us. We'll try to get you out of here as soon as possible. And it's a shorter second half.
Okay.
What types of support are you getting? And this could be from administration, staff, school board, parents. How does this connect with the community?
I think as far as the one-on-one initiative, there's support, especially the students love it. I think parents appreciate, I don't think there's a segment of our population that didn't understand why we were doing it right away, but I think for the most part, they're bought in at this point. As far as the TLC grant, I think just based on the way it was rolled out, we've seen a ton of support from teachers, and administration's been very supportive overall, so we were lucky in that fact.
I think we've had some community members that don't quite understand why they pulled 4 teachers out of the classroom to be coaches. They don't really understand the impact that coaches have yet. I really hope that as their kids and grandkids come home and talk about the neat things that are happening in their classes when the instructional coaches are there, that parents and adults will start seeing the benefit.
Okay. So are students helping this change process?
Are they helping? I think they are. Directly, probably not. There wasn't a student focus group, for instance, about the one-to-one. There was not a student focus group about TLC. But I think that their excitement and how they react to things helps, but probably more indirectly.
No additional comments there.
So you kind of talked about this as being economically funded, but I know how TLC was funded because you're kind of doing that same thing. But for one-to-one, how was it funded through? What was that funded through, or what? Did you have any grants that were specific to it?
No, it was funded through the school.
Through the school, okay. And I guess for this last one, this is kind of a meta question, and this is the last one that we have. What will be your fingerprints? That's your contribution on this building after change has been completed.
Ooh, that's a good question. We hope that we have fingerprints on it. Maybe as the people that were crazy enough to start instructional coaching when no one knew what it was, but we're hoping that it's driven in some of the strategies, and we're hoping that we leave a very positive viewpoint on staff for the instructional coaching model. I think that and we've heard this from other districts, there was some fear that we were going to come in and be evaluative, which is not our role. Perceive us is how they view us, regardless if that perception is correct or not. So I think leaving a positive perception that we are here to help and that we are working hard for teachers and in hopes to impact student learning is the legacy that I hope we leave.
Yeah, I guess we're hoping to leave a big old footprint, not just a fingerprint. But high goals, I guess. I think we hope that we leave teachers with some new strategies that will make them really enjoy the profession, and I think I hope that we make our classrooms engaging and fun and relevant to our kids, so that they don't see school as a waste of time, but really something that really is something they enjoy taking part in. And if you look at some of the statistics on student engagement at the high school, it's pretty depressing. So I really hope that we can make a difference in that area.
We just want to empower people.
Absolutely. Well, that's it. That's all we have for you guys. So, Abby, do you have anything else?
Nope. I think you guys did a great job. Thank you so much for meeting with us.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Good luck to you guys.
Yep,
Yeah,
good luck.
thank you so much.
All right. We'll see ya.
See ya.
So, got lots of stuff there.
Yeah, we do. So I'm glad that worked out. We
Yeah, no
could
kidding.
meet with them and do all that stuff. They're really nice people. So,
They seem like it.
yeah.
It's kind of hard that they had two different changes, so it was hard to keep going. Do I focus on this one? Do I focus on this one?
I think you were doing a fine job, because I was looking as you were writing through there, like you got a lot of the main points, and some of the questions were a little redundant. So
Right.
I think we got a lot of what we needed to get. So.
And I think the key, because we're going to have to tie this back to Fullen and
I know. Well, that's why when they said some stuff like leadership, I was like, oh, expound on that, and time. When they said time, I was like, oh, okay.
Realistically, they really did cover quite a bit of it. Talking about the leadership,
Yeah.
she did use the word transparency.
She did. They both did. About talking about leadership. They were talking about leadership, and they went right into transparency and communication.
Contagion, talked about that. Availability of resources. We had a question specifically for that.
Yeah, vision.
Let's see. Professional development, support, school culture, funding. Oh yeah, we've got it covered.
Oh yeah.
So
awesome.
I will post this.
Okay. With the recording?
Yes. I wonder if I can implement that as a link.
I don't know. I guess I don't know how they do it.
I don't know how it saves either.
Yeah.
Because I could see it being